Welcome and good morning if you're in the UK. This is USA 2024 on the road, the podcast which stayed up all night so you didn't need to. I'm James Matthews and I've been with Team Trump at West Palm Beach in Florida. And you can imagine the mood here.
And I'm Martha Kelner, and James, it was a very different mood here in Washington, D.C. I've been at Howard University, which was the watch party for Kamala Harris. She didn't show up to her own party. Her supporters then left, and we, the media, got turfed out. So I'm now back in my hotel room.
It's early morning here in Florida, and things are way more decisive at this stage than many imagined they would be at the start of the night. As we record, Sky News and NBC have Donald Trump on 266 of the 270 electoral college votes that he needs. But he can get those other four without any of the swing states. He's projected to have won Pennsylvania, North Carolina and Georgia already. He's saying he's president, although Kamala Harris hasn't conceded defeat yet. Keir Starmer, alongside other world leaders, have already congratulated Donald Trump. He was in celebratory mood as he addressed the thousands of supporters here at the convention center in West Palm Beach.
And today you showed up in record numbers to deliver a victory like no other. This was something special, and we're gonna pay you back. We're gonna do the best job. We're gonna turn it around. It's got to be turned around. It's got to be turned around fast, and we're going to turn it around. We're going to do it in every way, with so many ways, but we're going to do it in every way. This will forever be remembered as the day the American people regained control of their country.
The crowd here lapped it up. There was a sea of red MAGA caps, iPhones in the air, cheers throughout the night for results. And of course, when Donald Trump appeared, flanked by his family, it was rock star stuff. Quite a contrast, Martha, I imagine, to where you are with the Democrats, where the lights are now out, yeah?
Yeah, quite the split screen, James. I was at the watch party for Kamala Harris at Howard University, which is her alma mater. And it was dressed up for a party, these great big stars and stripes flags draped over these magnificent buildings, this stage set for an acceptance speech for what would have been America's first female president. Instead, the mood changed very quickly from cautious optimism to what the Harris camp called nauseous optimism. And somewhere between North Carolina and Georgia being called for Donald Trump, it turned into complete dejection. This party mood became all of a sudden funereal.
Yeah, I wonder, Martha, was this all about enthusiasm for Trump or a lack of enthusiasm for Harris?
I just think it might be a bit of both. I'm still struggling to absorb completely what's just happened, to be honest, the completeness of Donald Trump's victory, because I actually felt like Kamala Harris ran a pretty good, disciplined campaign. She perhaps overestimated the vote-winning potential of the battle around reproductive rights. She struggled, I think, to define herself, certainly to define her policy on immigration. And quite simply, I think the economy has been a real major factor, regardless of what figures you throw in people's faces about inflation being under control, about unemployment being down. Perception just doesn't match with that. People feel poorer than they were 4 years ago, and she is viewed as the incumbent. You know, people associate her with the last 4 years of the Biden administration, and I think she struggled to shrug that off. On the flip side, I can't argue with what J.D. Vance said about Donald Trump, and that this is the biggest political comeback of all time. You know, this is a man who 2 years ago was described as being radioactive to the Republican Party. I don't think that Donald Trump is an amazing politician. He's certainly not a disciplined politician. You know, this is a guy who last week was mimicking a sex act on a microphone, and this week is the 47th president of the United States. It is the most staggering, incredible story.
I think you're right, Martha. Yeah, and you know, you talk about the economy, and I think you and I find that, don't we, when we're going around the country asking people who they vote for, and that comes up time and again. The economy, immigration. People who are Trump supporters, they say, look, we get it. We get that bombastic side of him. We don't like it, but ultimately, he's the guy who puts money in our pocket. I was richer when he was in power. And it's interesting, for all the talk about him going off message and him spouting rhetoric, being near the knuckle, you wonder to what extent that was just white noise to people. Although you have to wonder, is he a guy who just simply got it right? Who today is to say he got it wrong? I mean, clearly he was targeting the bro vote. And interestingly, for me, Martha, I went to one of his rallies in Reading, in Pennsylvania, and I spoke to bros, young men, and I was surprised by what they told me. Young white guys, they said, look, we feel left behind. We feel like we've been kicked down, and we've been kicked when we got down. One said to me that you can't get a job if you are a white Christian male in this country anymore. And I found that quite startling. There clearly is a number from that generation who do feel that politics has left them behind, and they want to see some kind of control back. They want change, and clearly Donald Trump embodied change in a way that Kamala Harris did not, I suppose.
Has it become cool to vote for Donald Trump, do you think, James?
Well, it's anti-establishment, isn't it? I think it was in the first place. And yeah, cool. I think possibly that is the word. I mean, I think cool's an interesting concept, isn't it? Because Kamala Harris, I mean, she's been all over the cool, all over the showbiz, all over the celebrity endorsement. And I suppose political strategists will be studying why that did not work for many years to come. What I think, Martha, is that Biden has questions to answer. This is an individual who stepped down because it was the right thing to do, but clearly the right thing to do was to step down far earlier and give Kamala Harris more time to just bed in, to embed her message, to build her own identity as a politician with the policies of change, to establish herself with the American public. And she was given what? No time at all. And for all the talk about the Biden legacy, I think, frankly, in this convention center in West Palm Beach, I was looking at the Biden legacy tonight.
Or should he have stepped down earlier and allowed a proper primary process to take place? That's the other question, and that will be part of the Democratic Party's post-mortem, I'm sure.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Martha. Yeah, that'll be front and center of their inquest and their discussions about how they recover from this. It's going to be a long road. I mean, Trump presidency and, the Senate, the popular vote, possibly the House of Representatives. I mean, a clean sweep for Donald Trump. The mood, yeah, well, you don't need me to tell you what the mood is where you are, but I imagine it is dark indeed. I took the opportunity to speak to some of the people. I reckon 3,000 were in the room tonight, well attended, all well dressed, free alcohol, free food. It was party time for them. And yeah, I got a sense of how Donald Trump galvanized the support that he has enjoyed. What do you think?
Going to be a great 4 years. The country needed it, and Trump couldn't be the better president for this country. So we love it, and us as a people, we're in a good next 4 years.
Surprised?
Nope. It was coming.
What does it mean for America?
Oh, victory. We're going to literally make America great again because we're in the best spot right now. As a Hispanic, I'm part of Latinos for Trump. The Hispanics moved the needle on this election. We did a lot, and it means a lot because we're conservative. We are about family, God, and freedom, and that's the message that we believe in.
We're proud of everything that Trump does. We're grateful for this country to be in this country. We're given this opportunity coming from another country to be here to have a better chance in life. And I'm very grateful for what Trump is doing because he's changing my life. He's massively improving the lives of all of us. And not only that, his birthday is one day after mine, so I respect that.
There was a lot of talk about African-American males swinging it for Trump. Why is that?
Because Trump's a realist and he's logical. And little by little, more and more often, African-Americans are following Trump. We're seeing that he's the better option than anything else. So we're going to keep following him.
Tell me why Donald Trump?
I think Donald Trump is very intelligent. He's well spoken. He knows what he want to do as in for the United States of America. I think he's the perfect man for the job, you know. And I had an intuition that he was going to become president.
A long night indeed, and one of huge significance. But stay with us, we'll be back shortly. Welcome back to USA 2024 on the road, a triumphant night for Donald Trump. It's also looking good for Republicans in the Senate. They've taken control for the first time in 4 years. They also look set to hold the House of Representatives as well. It's possible the Republican Party will have control of all three branches of government. Will this iteration, I wonder, Martha, of President Trump be more powerful than we saw last time? What do you think?
I think now that he does have control of the Senate, possibly the House of Representatives, he's managed to install these conservative-leaning Supreme Court justices into the Supreme Court. I think he's definitely more powerful than last time, certainly. And I think concern, like you're saying, that this iteration of President Trump could be more powerful, more divisive, more extreme than the one that went before. I think this sense that the guardrails that kept him in check last time have now disappeared. He came, in as an insurgent in 2016. He had to rely, I think, on a lot of sort of party establishment figures, these politicians who had been around for years, these sort of adults in the room. Well, they've all disappeared this time. There's no one to pull the brakes on him. There's no seatbelts. There's no airbags. This is Donald Trump full on, all out. Do you get that sense from being in the room tonight and seeing the people who he surrounded himself with?
Yeah, I did. I mean, you get that sense of Donald Trump unleashed, because that's exactly what it is. And what about the mood in America now? Let's just hear Donald Trump on that.
It's time to put the divisions of the past 4 years behind us. It's time to unite. And we're going to try, we have to try, and it's going to happen. Success will bring us together. I've seen that. I saw that in the first term. When we became more and more successful, people started coming together. Success is going to bring us together, and we are going to start by all putting America first. We have to put our country first for at least a period of time. We have to fix it, because together we can truly make America great again for all Americans.
Well, for all the talk of unity, it's been fragile, to say the least, during this campaign. We've heard time and time again, while we've been on the road, Martha, concern from both sides about the vitriol in this election campaign. Polling by NBC found that 71% of voters are concerned about violence as a result of this election. I wonder, what impact could a Trump victory have on that? Do you think any?
I think probably in the immediate term, the bigger danger for violence and widespread unrest on the streets would have been if this had been a very close election. Obviously, it may turn out that it is quite close, but it's certainly not going to be an election that drags out for days and days. And I think that was the major worry for law enforcement. And of course, I think the fact that it's likely to be a Trump victory rather than a Harris victory actually probably reduces the risk of violence in the immediate term, but certainly not the risk of this fracturing even further what is already a deeply divided nation, almost completely down the middle now. The popular vote's likely to be very close to 50-50.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that's the thing about Trump winning, in common with probably most elections. Half the country doesn't want Donald Trump. Half the country has been warning about the dangers of Donald Trump. And these are the questions going ahead, aren't they? These dark warnings about authoritarianism. How far down the road towards that might he go? This a man who was described as a fascist by people who worked most closely with him. The business of retribution against his political opponents. Does that take place? Questions about, of course, his criminal convictions. How does he handle the Justice Department? How far will he go towards reform that suits him. These are all the warnings, clearly. And, given that he has the Senate and probably the House behind him, he will have a firm grip on where America goes over the next 4 years.
And, the world could have been changed for very different reasons today, James. When I was at Howard, I was watching the stage being set up for what they hoped, Kamala Harris's supporters hoped, would be the acceptance speech by America's first female president. We were very much at a crossroads that was, that clearly defined. When they were taking away that stage at the end of the evening tonight, pulling tarpaulin over the speaker's lectern, I was struck by the thought that Donald Trump has now defeated the only two women that have ever run for the White House. First Hillary Clinton, now Kamala Harris. What, if anything, does that say about this country and its attitudes towards women?
Good question, Martha. One exercising the country at large, I suppose, over the coming days, weeks, months, and years. It has been an extremely significant election, very significant night, and the day, I suppose, that changed America, certainly, and to a large extent, changed the world. Thanks very much indeed, Martha. I hope you get some sleep. This has been USA 2024 on the road. Thank you very much for being with us. We'll bring you more episodes in the coming days as this country gets to grips with one of the greatest ever political comebacks.
You've got so much energy. You need to. I'm dead.
All right, okay, I'll give you that. Right, that's enough. I'm off.